Coming up on the South Florida High School Football Show, the regular season comes to an end and the top teams are playoff bound. Larry Bluestein analyzes the top recruits headed to the Florida Gators, and we'll preview the first round of the playoffs. All that and more in the South Florida High School Football Show. Hello once again, everybody, and welcome to the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. coming to you from our favorite location, BurgerFi, right here in Weston. As soon as the show is over, Don and I make a mad dash for the counter. Cheeseburger, apple chicken dog, veggie burger.
And Joe, don't you forget your dessert. Everybody knows about your sweet tooth.
Oh, the concrete.
That's
Cannot
it.
wait for that. Also, a reminder, you can nominate the Player of the Year, the Tico People's Gas Player of the Year. Go to southfloridahighschoolfootball.com. You can nominate the Player of the Year. The Player of the Year is going to get a beautiful crystal trophy. The school is going to get $500. Can't beat that.
What a great honor, and it's voted on by you. Make sure you vote early and make sure you vote how you're supposed to.
southfloridahighschoolfootball.com. Okay, the regular season is coming to an end, or has come to an end. We're going to dive into the playoffs, what it takes to get to the state championship, what it takes to get through the grueling playoffs here in Miami-Dade County and in Broward County and make it all the way to the state championship. We're going to start with Booker T, last year's defending champ in 4A. They've been number one wire to wire so far.
And Joe, they're the most experienced at this. They've gone on the road and been very, very successful. Whether it was in Georgia, it didn't matter. They brought home a victory. But getting through Dade County in its own right is a challenge. And the fact that they have an experienced team, a team that won a championship last year, a team that is used to these kind of challenges, that you reap dividends with big time this time of year, because experience in the playoff, in my opinion, is one of the number one things you need to have.
Ice Harris, his team has to continue their scoring. They're averaging 40 points a game.
When you have that kind of number and you couple it with a defense that can stop anybody at any given time, it's the perfect equation for a successful football season. And I go back to the fact of how many different types of football teams that they have played, whether it's in the state of Florida or outside the state of Florida, because they have taken that show on the road. They've seen multiple defenses, they've seen multiple types of talent, and they've adjusted to every single one of them. So, in my opinion, when the playoffs start, there's not anything that they won't see, and if they do, they'll be able to adjust to it.
What they are going to see, Booker T is on a collision course in 4A with University School. That will be a great game. Let's move up to Broward County, 7A. St. Thomas is going to try to repeat with a balanced attack. They won the district over Plantation. They're going to open the playoffs with Miami Springs. We talked about Miami Springs earlier this year, but St. Thomas has got the quarterback and the defense.
Well, the Springs have come on strong. They've done a great job reinventing themselves, and as you mentioned, St. Thomas has the quarterback, the defense. They also have a pretty good center. When you look at what they're doing right now at St. Thomas, not much has changed since Coach Smith was there. They're very consistent. They're well coached. They don't make mistakes that hurt themselves, but they have enough going for them on offense to where they can create problems for a defense. They run the ball efficiently, and they can go deep when they have to.
St. Thomas always seems to find a way to peak this time of the year.
That they do, and then they should. They have this system figured out. They play a tough enough schedule during the year. They understand how to take a rest when they have a big enough lead, and then when it comes to the playoffs, they have that mindset that has been instilled to each generation of football player there, because they've all seen it before. The young guys have grown up going to the playoffs, and once again, it boils down to experience.
It's not going to be an easy road. They could face Plantation, they could see Dwyer, they could see Lakeland, they could see Tallahassee Lincoln. All of those are on the path to the state championship.
Well, at this stage of the game, let's face it, every single week, everybody believes that they're going to win state. That's the concept that you have to implant in your team, that right now it's a one-game season. We're going to the state championship. You win today, you advance. That's it.
6A Central, they have the powerhouse. They open up with Boynton Beach in the playoffs. For them to advance all the way to the state championship, keep handing it off to that two-headed running back.
They've got two monsters at running back. They've got an outstanding offensive line. Roland Smith has got playoff experience. He is a guy that has been very, very successful when it comes time to march your team towards a state championship. He understands how to navigate each and every opponent, as well as the way to team to travel. But when you look at Central, their running game is going to get them there. And really, when you look at it talent-wise, they should be in the final game.
The other contenders, Navarre, Lake City, and Largo, but Central allowing just 14 points a game, scoring nearly 40.
Well, the amazing thing to me is I still believe, especially in the playoffs, that defense comes up big. Everybody's got infatuated with scoring points, and I understand it. You see it in the National Football League, you see it in college football, you see it in high school, but the defense wins championships. Those 40 points are great, but somebody down the road is going to have an answer for those points. Then you need to make sure that that opponent scores less than you.
All right, let's go to 8A, and boy, oh boy, is this one loaded. The favorite might be Miramar. They've had a great season. They're going to have to get through a gauntlet, which we'll get to in a moment, but they are very good on both sides of the ball.
We'll go back to an experienced coach again. Coach Cogdale's done a phenomenal job there. They've won with defense. They've done one with offense. They've been able to put points on the board, and he understands, once again, how to get through this type of schedule at this time of year. His team has been healthy, and fortunate enough for him, they've got a quarterback that's efficient enough to get them through any type of defensive stand that they will face.
Here are the other teams in 8A. You've got Deerfield Beach. You have Coral Gables with the great rushing attack. You have North Miami, Columbus, Killian, South Dade, and Southwest. Any one of those teams could advance to the state championship.
They certainly could, and there's some old school names in there. You mentioned North Miami Pioneers, and of course, you've got Coral Gables. They're another team that is back on the map. For so many years, back in the 50s, this was one of the greatest teams in the state, let alone Dade County. It's nice to see them back as well.
All right, so those teams are all going to be vying for an opportunity to play for the state championship. They're all in the playoffs. This past weekend, we ended the regular season with all the highlights. Here's Joe Rose.
Thanks, Joe and Don. Well, it was a big upset brewing in Broward County on Friday night. Let's go right to it. The rain was coming down hard in Deerfield as Deerfield Beach hosted St. Thomas Aquinas. Raiders on the one. The Bucs defensive line given zero room to run. A go-ahead safety put Deerfield up 8-7 in the fourth quarter. Then later in the quarter, future Miami Hurricane Brandon Powell takes the pitch, then bolts down the sideline 50 yards to the end zone. No one's going to get him, securing the win for the Bucs. 22-7 the final. Bullen Jesuit hosting Monsignor Pace. Early day game on Friday. Scoreless in the second quarter. Pace quarterback Kelly Benson is going to call his own number, finding the end zone on the 10-yard keeper. 7-0 Spartans. Same quarter, Benson's going to the air, hooking up with Stanley Barnwell from 15 yards out. Pace upsets playoff-bound Bullen, 17-12.
The South Florida High School Football Show is brought to you by the U.S. Army, Tico People's Gas, The Chamber, Metro PCS, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Broward Health, BurgerFi in Weston, Vitamin Shop, and 560 QAM.
A few years ago, I decided to push myself further. College, graduate school, degrees in aeronautics and engineering. And I learned that being my best means getting the best from everyone around me. Becoming an Army officer taught me to set high objectives and quickly rise to meet them. Kinda like a rocket.
An Army officer learns to reach new heights and inspires others to do the same. Can you? Find out at goarmy.com/officer.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's loved one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
The recruiting segment is brought to you by Metro PCS, wireless for all.
We continue on the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. It's our pregame meal. We're at BurgerFi here in Weston. As soon as the show is over, you won't see what damage we're going to do here, but we'll probably slaughter a couple hamburgers and cheeseburgers and hot dogs.
I promise you, don't forget the French fries.
Don Bailey was also the teacher's pet in school, and if you have a favorite teacher, we have the South Florida Chevy Dealers are going to be recognizing the outstanding educators in Dade or Broward. You can go to our website, SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com and nominate your favorite teacher. It's a beautiful trophy. It has an apple. Should be great.
It should be great, and don't forget to do that. The teachers need a pat on the back as well.
We accept nominations until January 17th, so please go to our website and check it out. Okay, time to move on to our recruiting segment with Larry Bluestein. Last week we took a look at all the players going to the University of Miami. This week all the players going to the Florida Gators.
Let's go look at them, Old Blue.
All right, so we have on our phone our Metro PCS LG Optimus F3. You know what all the players do? We've been calling. We're so old school. You have to text, Don. That's the way you get the players. The way you communicate today is through texting. So we're going to text Old Blue about those recruits going to the Florida Gators.
Oh, I got a text here from Joe and Don, but Joe mainly asked about the University of Florida, about Corey Clark, who comes from Joe's alma mater, Chaminade Madonna. Well, Joe, I'll tell you what, the University of Florida is doing pretty well down here. Not only Corey Clark, a defensive tackle from your alma mater, but certainly a couple of kids. Dalvin Cook, running back out of Miami Central. This may be Florida's banner class in South Florida, because you have to look for a long time. They haven't been able to get down to South Florida. It's a tough place to crack. You have to have a lot of, allegiances, different places. One of the other kids that Florida got was a wide receiver, Erman Lane. We saw him plenty. This is a kid from Homestead that stretches the field. You know what? The one thing that I really like about him is that this is a kid that has straight line speed. He can get it done as a kick returner. He gets it done as a wide receiver. Big time football player. Speaking about big time football players, I'm going to give you another one to kind of ponder a little bit, if you may. From the University School, Quincy Wilson. A cornerback at 6'2", 200 pounds. This is a guy who so much is like Patrick Peterson, who used to be a star here, big kid in the NFL playing that position. But certainly Quincy Wilson is going to the University of Florida with the idea of playing cornerback and not safety. That's something that he's been steadfast in his entire recruiting process. And one of the other guys that kind of everybody looks at as a throw-in, but he's no throw-in, because when you get an opportunity to see Chris Lamons, this is a kid who played quarterback the last few years at Plantation, but he's going to move to the cornerback position when he gets up to the University of Florida. As you could see, guys, this is an unbelievable talent pool that the University of Florida came down to. And Joe, I'm going to answer you in just a couple of quick things here. When you take a look at him, Dalvin Cook is going to be the guy in this class. You guarantee it.
Here's how you can help Larry Bluestein in his fight against kidney disease. You can send your donation or support to Our Boy Blue Foundation, P.O. Box 3181, Hollandale 33009. In addition, if anyone would test as a living organ donor for Larry or anyone else, please contact Jackson Memorial Hospital at 305-355-5194.
The South Florida Chevy dealers will be recognizing outstanding educators and handing out $4,000 in donations. Help us by nominating a high school teacher for the 2013 South Florida Chevy Dealers High School Teacher of the Year Award. Chevy will award a crystal trophy to one teacher in each county, plus each teacher's school wins a $2,000 general donation. Visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com to learn how to nominate a teacher for consideration. We're accepting nominations until January 17th. The winners will be announced February 5th.
Welcome to the Chamber Sports Performance Minute. Brian is going to walk us through today's segment.
Here today at the Chamber, we're going to talk about lower body power development. We're going to start off with the air system hooked up to him by a belt. He's going to start off by doing back squats, keeping his chest up. Go ahead, give me 5 reps. Keeping his chest up, hinge at your hips, get as low as you can, push through your heels, and squeeze your butt. 5 good reps. 1, 2. Notice how his chest is high, his heels are flat on the ground, and he's activating his glutes every time he comes up. After that, he's going to cross his hands on his shoulders, going into jumps as high as he can with the air pulling him down. 1. Give me 2 more. Good. 1 more. Good. After that, we're going to go into reactive jumps. No air resisted. Step back. 3 as high as you can. 1. 1, 2 more. 2, 1 more. 3, good.
For more information or to contact us, visit chamberfitness.com.
The South Florida High School Football Show is also on Facebook at SFHSFS. And you can follow us on Twitter at HSF Ball and Instagram at SFHSFS. You'll receive weekly updates from our insiders, news, announcements, and game day scoring updates from all over South Florida, plus deals and offers from our partners.
For outdoor projects large or small, avoiding buried utility lines is more than food for thought.
What happened?
Know what's below. You or your contractor should always call 811 before you dig. Utilities will mark your lines for free. Brought to you by Tico Peoples Gas.
Broward Health is good at keeping muscles and joints in motion and out of pain. So good, they treat some of the nation's top athletes. So good, they've been selected to perform joint replacements on retired players. And so good, they handle more ortho cases and perform more joint replacements than anyone else in Broward. So if you're a senior with joint pain or an injured athlete of any age, trust the team Ryan Tannehill trusts.
Broward Health, powerful medicine.
The Coaches segment is brought to you by BurgerFi and Weston, all natural.
Back here on the South Florida High School Football Show, Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. We are at BurgerFi in Weston. Don, one of the great coaches in Miami-Dade County this year has been Aubrey Hill from Carroll City. He's done a really nice job, has them in the playoffs.
He certainly has. He's done a great job at Carroll City. He was a former player, of course, of Walt Frazier, took a lot of what he learned and then went on to coach in the D1 ranks, and you can see that his coaching, his patience, and his experience, especially in big-time college football, has helped turn Carroll City in the right direction.
He's going to have a first-round matchup against Dillard. Could see Central in the second round. Right now, he is with our Chris Chambers.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Coach Hill of Carroll City, his first year. How's that experience so far?
Oh, it's been great. I'm at my alma mater, back into the Carroll City, Miami Gardens community, and it's been a great experience so far.
That's good to hear. Your team is doing excellent this season so far. How have the guys been able to handle the success?
Well, you know what? It starts with our quarterback and also our defense. And you know what? We have 33 seniors on our team, and they've done an excellent job of making sure we're prepared each game.
Yeah, now you guys playing one of the toughest, and we talked about this, districts in the country. How do you prepare for that?
Well, you know, you and I talked about it's like the high school equivalent of the SEC. So we have a really tough district, some really great teams, Central, also Northwestern, Homestead, and Norland. So we have some really, really good teams. Preparing for them each week is very challenging, but at the same time, very exciting that you know that you're going against the best.
Yep. Great teams have great players. Can you identify a couple of those for us?
Well, obviously on our team, it starts with our quarterback, starts with our linebacker, Leroy James, strong safety, and one of our DBs who's a young kid, Rashad Fenton. So we think he's going to be an outstanding player for us. And we have a lot of other really good players around them, but those are really our premier players.
Thanks, Coach Hill. We're here. Carroll City has a great opportunity to make the playoffs this year. Where they'll go from there, we'll see.
Don't forget to check out SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, where you'll get recruiting overviews powered by Larry Bluestein, a review of the top 20. We'll preview the top games in Dade and Broward County. We'll catch you up on Shaquille Jackson's blog and game recaps. You can nominate candidates for the Player of the Year and for the High School Teacher of the Year. Catch any of this season's TV shows you may have missed, plus a whole bunch more.
Tico Peoples Gas is awarding the Player of the Year award to one player in Miami-Dade and one player in Broward. To nominate a player, visit SouthFloridaHighSchoolFootball.com. Look for the Tico Vote Here icon. Nominations are open until November 30th. The players take home a beautiful crystal trophy, and the schools that vote the most receive a $500 donation. The winners will be announced during our National Signing Day TV show on February 5th.
We continue now with our Broward Health Injury Report with Dr. Carrera, and in this report, we're going to talk about a common injury in athletes, especially in high school athletes, and that is a twisted ankle.
That's right. It's the most common injury that we see actually in sports is ankle twisting injury. So it can happen in a couple of different ways. One is just ligament injuries, and then you can also have an ankle fracture, which is a broken bone, or a combination of those two.
All right, so we get a twisted ankle, a sprained ankle. It's going to swell up, and then what happens?
Then we should check it out. So the things that are really worrisome typically is a lot of swelling and an inability to bear weight on it or to put weight on it, to walk on it. So if you're seeing those couple of things, that's more of a sign of a potential fracture, but you don't really know necessarily unless you get an x-ray.
And then the fracture would require some kind of surgery.
Not all the time, but a lot of times it will. So depending on whether the bones have shifted or not, and the overall stability of the ankle, it will need surgery or not. So that's something that needs to be looked at carefully.
And quickly, a sprained ankle, how long is the rehab there?
So it depends on the extent of the injury, but it can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 or 8 weeks, actually, depending on the severity of it. So the high ankle sprain, which we have generally heard about as being the bad sprain, that is the longer acting one, usually about 6 weeks to get back on the field for.
All right, very good. Thank you very much, Doctor.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Dermidges with this week's U.S. Army All-American Bowl nominees. This week, we are proud to announce the first 3 selectees for the Army Bowl. Chris Lamons, the cornerback from Plantation, who is committed to the University of Florida. Lamons is considered one of the top corners in the nation, so he's surely an asset to the Gators. Next up, Ermon Lane, the wide receiver out of Homestead, who is also a Gator recruit and who recently impressed his future head coach, Will Muschamp, by scoring 3 touchdowns in Homestead's 36-0 shutout against Miami Edison. And Johnny Dixon, the wide receiver representing Dwyer up in Palm Beach, who by the looks of it will attend one of the top-rated programs in the nation come 2014. Be sure to tune in next week to hear the final 3 selections.
At Metro PCS, we believe in the power of the period. It keeps you from spending too much on wireless. Unlimited data, talk, and text. $40, period. Everything you want. Even the taxes and fees are rolled right in. $40, period. On a nationwide 4G network, no annual contract, $40, period. That's period power. Everything you want, $40, period. Only at Metro PCS.
He's a 20 years straight, get to work on time. He's in love one woman for all his life. Everybody knows he ain't just tough, he's strong.
The all-new 2014 Chevy Silverado. Strong for all the roads ahead.
We're back on the South Florida High School Football Show. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. This is our semifinal show. Next week will be our final show as the teams get ready to go to the playoffs next week. We're going to break it down here in just a moment, but we've had a great time throughout the season. So let's take a look at what's going to happen next week in the playoffs. Our broadcast game is going to be a good one. Deerfield Beach and Flanagan on WQAM. Check it out with Mike Levine and Wesley Carroll. Deerfield Beach had themselves a heck of a season. They're an explosive on offense with running back Brandon Powell.
Powell has done a phenomenal job carrying this offense through the entire season, and now that it's money time, now that it's playoff time, Joe, you know that they're going to ask him to carry the football again. He's a guy that has enough speed to take it to the outside and make long runs, and he also has the power to get those tough yards when they need a short yardage first down. 1,100
yards and 9 touchdowns, so Flanagan's going to have a tough time boxing him in. Deerfield Beach's defense has been really good as well, just allowing 10 points per game.
It's a nice matchup because Deerfield has got a defense, which you mentioned, is holding everybody under 2 touchdowns a game on an average, which when we just talked a few minutes ago, we talked about the importance of defense. Well, some people focus on yards. I think you need to focus on points. 10 points, and having a running game that they do, they'll be able to maybe challenge that number.
Devin Bush at Flanagan has been one of the nice stories this year in high school football. He has the quarterback Ryan Stanley can really throw the football over 1,800 yards.
That's a big number when you think about the number of games that they play. Stanley is a kid that has the ability to run and get himself out of trouble. He's really not a true dual threat guy, but he can buy time when the protection breaks down, and that's led to a lot of his touchdowns.
That's our broadcast game on WQAM. In Dade County, Hialeah will take on Coral Gables. You know the Gables, they won the district by staying true to their game plan, which is run the football behind their running back, Greg Howell.
Well, they've got the offensive line that allows them to do that. It eats up a little bit of the time of possession. Howell is a guy that's powerful. He gives them the tough yards that they need. They also have enough of a defense to complement him, so they're tough to beat. But then you go look at Hialeah, Joe. They've got the quarterback, a true dual threat player who can make it happen with his legs and his arm.
As we mentioned a couple of weeks ago, plus Hialeah always seems to have a really strong front seven.
They certainly do, and there's always seems to be, especially a defensive end or a defensive tackle. If you go back over the last couple of years, they've been popping those guys into Division I football at the college level. So they're going to need defense, but the quarterback, I think, can save them a lot of problems.
All right, our third playoff game that we're going to preview down south, South Dade taking on Belen. South Dade won the district behind their quarterback, Khalil Render.
It seems that it's quarterback weekly here in the playoffs, and that's no surprise. And this game is no different. The quarterback has got them to the playoffs by being efficient, not throwing too many interceptions, not jeopardizing the offense throughout the game, but making sure he throws completions and manages his side of the football.
South Dade has a couple of Division I receivers, including C.J. Wharton. Belen's going to have to deal with him. Wharton's averaging over 21 yards a catch.
That's an unbelievable number at any level when you talk about 21 yards every single time you touch the football. It's a kid that is able to work the secondary. Is extremely hard to cover. If you're going to control him, you've got to commit two guys, but then that opens up the other side of it. So it's the perfect equation for them, and that's why they're in the position that they're in.
All right, some good games next week in the playoffs. So when you want to be playing your best football, the intensity really goes up, doesn't it?
Oh, it's another level right now. You go through your regular season and you're happy to do what you do. You want to win. You try and play as many people as you can, and you think about the team concept. Now you have to hone that down. You've got to go with the best 22 guys and the best fill-ins after that to try and spell them. But you have no tomorrows. There's no bye week coming up. This is win and survive.
Okay, don't forget, go to our website, southfloridahighschoolfootball.com. Nominate the Player of the Year. Also nominate the Teacher of the Year. We have some money that we're going to put toward those awards and some trophies as well. So please go to our website, nominate your Teacher of the Year and your Player of the Year. You did some good work today, Don Bailey. I'm going to buy you a hamburger.
I appreciate that, Joe.
I'm going to take care of you right now. For Don Bailey Jr., I'm Joe Zagacki. A reminder, next week will be our last show, our championship show. Thanks for joining us right here on the South Florida High School Football Show.
The South Florida High School Football Show has been brought to you by the U.S. Army, Tico Peoples Gas, The Chamber, Metro PCS, South Florida Chevy Dealers, Broward Health, BurgerFi in Weston, Vitamin Shop, and 560 QAM.
Every chance we get. Clean, within the rules, we play hard until the whistle blows. Don't guess that the ball's gone. Don't guess anything. You stay on the guy until the whistle blows. Okay? If we're screening or something, you get down the field, you find somebody, you hit somebody. All right? Get after them. Make me proud today. I want this one. Let's go.